Are you a fresh graduate or young career professional? In my almost 20 years experience in finance, I have met a lot of senior professionals and business people who have major money regrets. Today, let's dive into the 5 major money mistakes you need to avoid to set yourself up for future financial success. The last one will shock you. Hi, my name is Ola, and I help working professionals and business owners put their finances in order. And so if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel where we share about personal finance, investing, and the economy, and hit the notification button so you know when next a video comes out from us. Yeah? So now let's dive in. What are the 5 most common money mistakes you need to avoid? Before we even go into it, right, let me first lay this foundation. Have you ever thought of the facts, the major facts, that you're going to be working from, say, 21, 22, 23, 24 to about 60? And whatever money you make in that period is what's supposed to fund you from that 60 to whatever time you leave this earth. Now, what does that mean? As much as you are living, enjoying your life while working, you need to be doing something to secure that time when you officially retire. Now, somebody may say, oh, but I have pensions. Yes, you have pensions. And if you do, that's a tick. However, have you looked at the rate at which that pension is increasing? Have you looked at the way prices are going up? If you haven't, please go and look at it and come back and tell me in the comment section that depending on your pensions is not really a plan. So after we've laid that foundation, let's now go into the 5 money mistakes you need to avoid to set yourself up for future financial success. The first one is living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, how do you know or identify someone who is doing this? Have you met any colleague or uncle or cousin or anyone around you who, let's say payday is 24th, by 18th, 19th, they become cranky? They're very, very touchy. If you say, oh, please, can you just transfer 1K for this? They just start snapping, or this bill is due, you know? Yes, basically what's happening is that the account is low and they're just waiting and barely getting by to the 24th. Or you find someone who always comes to meet you towards 22nd, 23rd, 24th-ish to say, oh, can you loan me money for like 2 days? Yeah? That's literally it. What is happening is that they are living from paycheck to paycheck, meaning that if that next paycheck does not come for any reason, they are in a fix. Highlighting it just tells you the risk. It means that if any wind should blow, any random wind, number one, will not have any emergency fund to fall back on, and number 2, if it's going to have a long-term impact on you, you're going to take it in full with no shock absorbers. So the first thing you need to avoid is that living from paycheck to paycheck. Of course, towards the end of this video, we'll give you tips on how to actually do what we are recommending. But at least for now, know that this whole living from paycheck to paycheck is not a goal, right? So avoid it as much as possible. The second thing you need to avoid is lifestyle inflation. What is lifestyle inflation? Lifestyle inflation is that when you started work, you used to take public transport, you used to take bus, you used to walk 5 minutes to meet in between buses or whatever, right? You just used to live on a certain level. You were living 1 hour away from work. You were just managing yourself basically. And then you get your first paycheck, you're good. You get your that promotion, and you're like, oh, why am I living so far from work? Why can't I move closer? And then you get that next promotion, you become a manager, and you're like, no, I need to have this kind of car. This car that I was driving for is too small. It's fine, because I mean, life is for the living and you should enjoy your money. But when we say lifestyle inflation, we're saying that to avoid living from paycheck to paycheck, yeah, you need to have a gap between how much you actually earn and how much you spend. But if with every increase in salary, the quality of your bags consistently increase, everything just increases, you will find that you end up living from paycheck to paycheck. You will look good on the outside, your bags will be of the right social standards and all, but you are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. What we recommend is a gap, and we'll talk about how to do that later. But for now, the second mistake you need to avoid is that you need to avoid lifestyle inflation. So, and if I'm calling you out, please just say in the comment section, "Ola, slow down, slow down. You are talking to me." But please just listen a little. Now, off to the next point. The next thing that you need to do is that you need to use debt wisely. You need to avoid that mistake of taking on debt for things that do not matter in the long term. What do I mean? In most developed societies, you need to have a credit score. You need to be able to show that I have taken debt and I have paid back. Valid. However, why are you going on a $5,000 vacation when business class, first class, blah, 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 when you could have done economy and spent 1,000 and put only 1,000 on your credit card as against putting 5,000? In fact, why are you putting a vacation on your credit card? Why don't you have savings to fund that vacation? Yeah, we understand that, yes, the credit culture is important, but what you should be looking out for is what are you using that money for? If you are taking a loan to buy a house, it makes sense. But if you are taking hair on credit, no. So one thing that you need to learn from now is what are you racking up debt for? If it's not going to give you value in the future, then you need to slow down on it. Why? Because what debt does is that it eats into your future money, right? So you think you are growing, but what you find is that after a while, if you don't manage it well, all you are doing is paying off obligations and you just feel like you are overwhelmed. So you need to stop now. You need to avoid it from today. Now, the fourth thing that you need to avoid is not investing. Now, I've heard all sorts of things in my journey of helping people with their finances. I've heard people say that, oh, they don't have enough money to invest. I've heard people say that they don't know where to invest. I've heard people say, I'd rather see my money in my bank account. They all sound like logical explanations or reasons for not investing. However, when you consider that whole 20 to 60 scenario and the fact that you are praying for long life and you are hoping not to be dependent on your siblings or your children, then you need to rethink it, because the only way that you can avoid not being dependent on people after retirement is by having investments that will bring you cash at that time. Now, what you need to understand is that the benefit that you have right now when you're starting your career is something called compounding, i.e., you invest, you get the returns, you now reinvest it. Over time, it actually makes a lot of sense. So do not avoid investing. And the funniest thing, if you don't know, with $10 you can invest, with 1,000 naira you can invest, with 1,000 pounds, with 10 pounds you can invest. Whatever currency you are in, there is something you can do with that money that looks so small. There is something that you can do. And the last but not the least is that a lot of people, senior professionals who had regrets about their money, had no clue how much money they actually earned. Does that sound shocking? It is. But here's how it happens. So when you first start your career, what really does happen is that, okay, you just have your salary and that's it. But you get to a point where you begin to get commissions, where you begin to get bonuses, where there's one perk that is due to you or the other, right? What we find is that a lot of people may be able to say that, okay, I'm getting this amount of money into my account monthly. But you see those extras, they can't account for it. You see those perks that are saving them money, they can't account for it. Why is this a problem? Because those are the things that you're supposed to be putting away, right? If you are able to account for it, the things you're supposed to be putting away in that your investment pots. Do you understand? But what we found is that a lot of people in my one-on-one sessions, you get them to sit down and actually say, okay, how much did you make from the salary? How much you make from bonuses? How much you make from extra transactions? And by the time they add this money together, there's one simple, it's like a consistent question. Where did all this money go? But if they were measuring, imagine if 100 million passes through your account this year and you are aware, and then you wake up in February of the next year and you are broke. You know, it will occur to you that there's something wrong and you can nip it in the bud quickly. But if you are not measuring, if you are not checking and you're not adding things up, you will just assume there was no money, right? So this is very, very major. As simple as how much you actually earn, keeping records of it is very, very important. So please, that is the final mistake that you need to avoid. Now let's switch over to what you should do. How do you really avoid these mistakes? Now it goes without saying, don't spend more than you earn. And not just don't spend more than you earn, spend less than you earn, right? What does that mean in simple English? Save. It is the foundation of any form of investing that you want to do in the future. Like, you just have to save. Like, find how, fight for it, but you just have to save. There's just general recommendation that you should pay yourself first, meaning when you get your salary, before you start supporting people around the world, decide on how much you are going to put aside for yourself in terms of savings, and put it aside immediately. And just know that it is your future that you are buying with that transaction, with that move, with that action, right? That's the first thing. Pay yourself. That's the first thing. Make sure you save. The next thing is obviously track your finances. How much are you earning? How much are you receiving? There's some little things that I do that make life easy for me. Number one, I have an expense card. So if I'm spending money, it's from a particular account. Now, I might not need to account for exactly, I might not be able to say to the letter everything I spent money on, but I can tell you how much I spent on life and living in a month, because all I need to do to get that bank statement and see the debits. So what I do is that I just fund that account and I say, this is how much I'm going to spend this month, and I try to live within it. When the account is low, I begin to slow down. You understand? Now, also on the income side, I also have an income account, meaning investment returns go into, where my salary goes into, all those things, so that if you ask me how much came into my life this year, I don't need to think too much. I just need to go and check opening balance and closing balance, and I can tell you this was the total inflow this year. Why is that important? It's very important because sometimes it becomes overwhelming if you have to track manually by yourself. But if you're able to leverage on tools, you are number one, more likely to be correct, and it's easier to get done. Yeah, so you need to track your finances. Create a system, find what works for you, but track it. Then on the back of lifestyle inflation, there's something that I did and I still do, right? I try to leave like 2 paychecks behind what I should normally be able to afford, right? What do I mean? You start off as entry level, there's a base salary, you get promoted second level, you get promoted third level. What I do is that I leave at third level like someone that is on first level. And when I get to fourth level, I live like someone that's on second level. Why? Because lifestyle inflation is a thing. There's that social pressure of you being able or needing to be on a certain level or be seen on a certain level. But you have to kill it because you have somewhere you are going. Yeah, you have to kill that, right? So what I do is that I always keep my expenses, like the quality of life, because it needs to improve. Like, that's why we are working. So I just look, okay, so an average second level person, how will the person be living? How much will the person be earning? That's how much that's what my expenses will look like. Do you get? So I always have savings. And then because I am intentionally doing it, I'm less affected by external pressure. You get? Because external pressure is a thing. It is a thing. So yes, the third thing that you need to do is to leave like 2 paychecks ago. It's a recommendation, but tell me in the comment section if it works for you. And also tell me how you manage to keep that gap in lifestyle inflation in check. The fourth tip on how to avoid these money mistakes is that you should manage your debt wisely. We understand that your credit score is very important and we are not discounting that. However, you need to choose what you decide to put on that card wisely, number one. Number two, we recommend that if you use it for your monthly expenses, pay it down every month, meaning live within what you actually earn so you don't go into that rabbit hole, right? And then finally, when you are putting money, when you're taking on debt, as much as lies within your power, make sure it is for an asset. Make sure it is for an asset, meaning something that will eventually bring you money in the future. Not hair, yeah, not hair, not wristwatches, not phones, yeah, not things like that. Thank you. And then finally, invest. Like, it goes without saying that the only way you can beat that natural trajectory of a dwindling of your quality of lifestyle towards retirement is actually by investing. And of course, if you go into our previous videos, you would see that there's a lot of talk around investing, how to invest, what to invest in, and all that. But if you have any specific question, drop in the comment section. If you need help in putting your finances in order, check the description. There's some links you can piggyback on and sign up to our free newsletter for more information. But fundamentally, you need to start investing. There is actually no escaping that in this journey of financial success. Now, finally, I just want to remind you that you can't outsource your health and your finances. You have to engage. Just the same way no one can go to the gym for you and you would burn those calories. It's the same way no one can actually effectively manage your finances without your engagement. So this is Ola saying bye and see you in the next video.